You're another phenomenal producer and DJ from Stockholm. What is it about you Swedes? Tell us about Stockholm and why Sweden produces so much talent.
I think, as I've been mentioning before, I think a lot has to do with the climate that we live in. It's just what you do during the winter period. You sit at home and you being, you work with your ideas and try to make, create. The creativity comes out during the winter period.
So what do you do in the summer? Just go and party and just forget about making music? Or?
Actually, this year I've been working in the studio all summer actually, because I had this little deadline. My manager said that I have to finish my album till September, and basically the album tracks that I did, I've been collecting tracks since I think it's almost a year ago that I started collecting tracks for the album. And during the summer, usually, you want to be social, hang out with your friends, and party and everything. But this year, I had to finish this album, so I've been working all year around actually.
So have you got air conditioning or a fan to keep you cool?
No, actually, I have a window now. I have. Since I started doing music, I've always been in the studios below in the basement without lights. And since May, we moved to a new apartment. So now I finally have my own room, my music room, with a window, and I can see the sky and the sun. So it's fantastic.
That's what you need. So tell the listeners of the Future Underground show a little bit about yourself. When did you start DJing? When did you start producing? How did it all start for you? And just tell us a little bit, maybe your bio, in a few words.
Well, it started back in the beginning of the 90s. I was interrailing in the UK actually with a friend of mine, and it was between 9th grade and before going to the gymnasium, as we call it, the high school in Sweden. And we went to Manchester and we tried to get into the hacienda, but we didn't get in. We were interrailing, and I discovered this new sound that was going techno. And before I come from a rock scene, so rock and roll, synth music, kind of band-based music. So for me, dance music was a totally new thing. And when I got back home, rave parties started to happen in Stockholm, and I started to go out and go to rave parties. This is 91, 92. And at that time, I just wanted to, absorb anything that had to do with that kind of music. So I bought myself a sampler, I bought myself a couple of, techniques, and started to experiment around with this music. And I met Adam in school, in high school, and we started to go to raves together, and also started to do music together. So I think the passion started there, and it's been continued since then.
You used to play the piano. Is that where it was started from your musical sort of career?
Yeah, my mom forced me to the boys' choir when I was a kid. Right. So I started very young singing classical choirs when I was already 7, 8 years. Playing the piano.
Did that change when your voice broke?
Actually not, because I went to music school and we trained our voice, so I didn't have a hard time with going over the pitch. So I went from tenor to bass over a summer, but it wasn't a big problem actually, because I had a trained voice.
Have you thought about sort of incorporating some of your choir skills into your production?
No, because that's what I love about electronic music. It doesn't have to apply voices in there. You create your own voices with synthesis, with sampling, synthesizers.
You had a residency at Unit Club in Hamburg, Germany. You used to play 10-hour sets. Can you tell us a little bit about those times?
That was I was 20 at the time, and I basically got discovered by these club owners in Germany. I'm half German, and they asked me if I wanted to start working in the club, and sometimes it happened that I was the resident DJ, and they hadn't booked a guest DJ, so sometimes I played for 10 hours, and this club was like for 1,500 people. Yeah, it was a pretty large club, and that was the best school I ever went to. And
what did you do if you needed to toilet?
You had to put on a really long record and run. But it's weird, when you're in the zone and you play, it's crazy. Sometimes you don't go to the toilet for 6-7 hours because you're so into it and so concentrated in what you're doing. So.
And then afterwards you feel like a horse.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Joel, I mean, from doing a bit of research about you, you used to DJ with Ableton, but I think you moved over to Tractor now, is that right?
No, I never DJed with Ableton. I've been on Ableton since the first version in the studio actually, and I played live with it. But I was always DJing with decks.
Yeah.
I never turned into the internal thing. I've tried it out, but I feel like as a DJ it's just nice to have something to touch and to, it's just part of that, if you work with an instrument, if you have a keyboard and then suddenly don't have the keyboard anymore, it's the thing, you don't know where to put your fingers anymore, and it gets too, I don't know, it's something mechanical that I feel gets, I don't feel comfortable playing it.
And you used to work in a record shop in Stockholm with Adam Beyer and Kari Lökebusch. Can you tell us a little bit about those times?
Yeah, it was great times, man. We ate and slept and shit music. I mean, that was good days because Kari had his studio downstairs below, and we opened the store at 11 every day and just pushed records all the day long and had the opportunity to get those promos that no one else got, and at the end of the day you went downstairs and you listened to new tunes that you just produced overnight, or so there was a really, really good foundation in a way, because it just got very concentrated and learning the whole way of from producing the music, to release the music on the label and to sell it. It was a very good learning experience.
Excellent. And tell us about 2010 for you, Joel. I mean, how's it been? Tell us about some of the highlights for you from this year.
The highlights has been that I have a studio with the windows. Because I spent so much time in the studio. That's one of the highlights. But 2010 has been a fantastic year so far, and it's almost over. So many good gigs, and I've released a lot of music, and I think I still feel very passionate about music and get inspired, and I think 2010 every year is stronger.
What's been your most memorable gig this year? Where did you play?
Oh, I have to say Ukraine. There's a party called Kazantip that goes on for a month.
Yeah.
And I went there, and I wasn't aware of the party when I went there, but when I got there, I saw what thing it was, and it's an amazing production, and I just had 5 hours there. I wish I had like a week to spend, and see what's going on, because I think it's an incredible place, and I think 2011 everyone should go to Kazan.
I've heard a lot about sort of Eastern Europe at the moment, Croatia, Ukraine. What sort of up and coming countries of underground music do you sort of recommend?
I think the countries you just mentioned, and South America, and these countries where they just discovered the music. I mean, they got a layer of the big pop sound with I don't know who is famous, but they just scratched the surface, and now they're starting to see what's underneath, and these kind of territories are starting to come up, and they're so passionate about the music, and they really live the music, and that's something that somehow got lost in a couple of countries. I don't have to say which countries, but some of the countries are really spoiled of what they've got, and something got lost in a way. But in these territories, the spirit is like, it's like an ignition for, you know, the same passion that I felt when I was starting doing music. Yeah, and that's what you search for, I think. Yeah. These kind of moments and momentums when you feel like, oh, now we're on our way again.
And your album, you've got an album coming up. Can you tell us about, you know, what's it called, what sort of style is it, and when's it going to be released?
It's my album is called Sensory, and it's being released on the sub-label Drumcode. It's called Drumcode Records, and it's coming out in November. And there's tracks on there. There's more tracks to play out for the dance floor. Then it's not a listening album. It's more a mixing album. It's a couple of down-tempo listening tunes, but basically most of the tracks are tracks that I actually play myself, and I feel comfortable playing out. So it's I'm feeling really happy about it. I've heard it too many times, so I can't say.
Okay.
So you have to be.
And will you be playing a few of the tracks tonight?
I will, definitely.
Excellent. And how excited are you to be playing at the biggest techno event basically in Britain this year?
It's amazing. I'm so happy that we are, you know, we're actually doing it all together as well. Yeah. And we're living the dream of being able to do something like this in another city on this little planet. So it's going to be great, and I know the vibe is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a special night. And Joel, do you have a message for the listeners of the Future Underground show around the world?
Yeah, techno keeps us young.
It certainly does. Joel, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Cheers.